It's good to have y'all in your capital today. Today is my grandchild's one of my grandchildren, I got 8. His birthday. His name is Howard Delbert. And thankfully, they're calling him Howard. So I want to wish him a happy birthday today. Yesterday, when we were talking about the possibility of asking to be rehired in this position, his brother, older brother, 5-year-old Mance, was there. Mance, after we discussed all that was involved in an election and whatnot, Mance came up and he looked really sad. And he sat next to Lynn, he put his head on her chest, and he said, "I'm really worried about this election." He said, "You know, if Dees loses, he's not going to be able to get a job." So when I was at hunting camp a couple of years ago, it got really cold. And so usually, those of you who've been to hunting camps know it really gets cold. So I went to Clarksdale, I went to the Walmart to get a heater, you know, to plug into the camp and whatnot, because we had another cold night. So I went and I was looking at the heaters, and as I was picking them off the shelf, this lady came up behind me. And of course I was in my blue jeans and my hunting clothes and stuff. And she said, you look like you know what you're doing here. Which heater are you getting? I said, well, I'm looking at this one, but some of them are 2,500 watts. Some of them rotate, ma'am. You have to look at on the label here. And as I turned around, there were 2 or 3 other people had come up behind them. So they said, well, which one would you pick? And I said, well, you know, this, that, and the other. And I finally turned to them, and I said, they were like, I sold 10 heating at Walmart. So last night I turned to man and said, I have other possibilities. I'm not just one guy. I got other things I can do. I want to welcome you to your very solvent state capital. Never in the history of the state have we been in the financial condition we are, and it did not happen by accident. Speaker Gunn, you see Trey here, you see Jason, our leadership Dean, Briggs, Josh, all of those people spent a whole bunch of time cutting the budget the first year, watching the dollars the next 2 years, and that entailed, as Dean has put out to you, we had a $1.4 billion surplus. Put that in perspective with our rainy day fund, puts it over $2 billion. To put that in perspective further, California has a $25 billion deficit. Your state is being run like your business. And it has been a while to get it to that, but it is happening today, and you can look at the numbers. We have decreased the size of this government by 3,000 employees since the day you hired this team. We further will pay off $600 million in principal debt since you hired this team. We have positioned Mississippi to grow and prosper like it has never been before. Now, none of us would be here without your support. None of us would have learned how to run a business had we not been associated with you and you running your business. So you get a lot of the credit for that. You put us in a position to play the game, and we have been honored to represent you. When you look forward this next year, we'll have that surplus, and we'll have the discussions about tax decreases or tax rebates. We'll be talking about that. What a wonderful discussion to have for the state of Mississippi. 2 weekends ago, I had the privilege of meeting with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She's the governor-elect of Arkansas. And in the course of that discussion, she said to me, "You really are putting a lot of pressure on me. You've raised your teachers too much." What a discussion to have. You're so far ahead of Arkansas, I'm probably going to have to move my teachers' pay raise up. What a place to be. And you're there now. You should be so very proud of what you have accomplished in Mississippi here. This year, we've got $350 million of appropriations. One of the best things that the legislature did last year was to tell the cities and the counties, If you put up your money on water and sewer, we'll take the money that was given to us by the federal, we'll match your money. That's going to end up being over $900 million in water and sewer in this state. Not the sexy kind of thing, but the thing that allows you to do business. The things that allow you to do your business. So you'll see more of that this year. You'll see our infrastructure, as Dean was talking about. We put $2.3 billion on it last year. You'll see that again this year, where we're looking. But more importantly, to people like Mike and others, we did almost $1 billion worth of actual contracts. Not that we appropriated the money. Guess what? We're actually using it. We're putting it on the streets where it ought to be, and it should be every year. This next year, as you've probably heard, I have been from Gulfport to Corinth, and I have sat in these schools that have gone to a modified calendar. In that modified calendar, you go 9 weeks, you're off 2 or 3 weeks, you have intersessions in October, and you have intersessions at Christmas and spring, and about a 4-week break in the summer. They are producing records for us. And when I talk to the teachers in Corinth, I talk to them and I ask them, what's wrong with this? Then I ask the big question, what about football season? Oh, football was great. Everybody came to the games. What about the band? The band played. What's wrong with this? Nothing. We love it. This gives us time off. By the way, I'm sick of those kids in March. They were real honest about it. And this gives me the break. So we have our kids. We are competitive with Alabama and China. We have our kids going to school in an organized fashion, in a learning fashion, so that they can come work for you, and one day they will have employees like you working for them. That is so important. We don't need to go like we always did. We need to start looking at our education system a little different. Now, Lamar County already started. Gulfport already started. Went down and sat in the intercession. During that intercession period, they still bring kids in. They feed them. They're in an educational learning environment. Whatever. It was magnificent. And now, so we can do that. We're going to end up being one of the leader states as our state proliferates all the way across. And I encourage each and every one of you to ask your parents, your school boards, whether that's a good idea for your school system, because it is for everyone else that's trying it right now. So I encourage you to do that. We had the Dobbs decision. You'll see a lot of things coming out about adoption from the Senate this time, and about how we can do better about kids that are here, about their early education and the things that go with it. One other thing. Like a lot of us here, we recognize that you can perform your business, that you can earn your living only if you're in a stable environment. We do not need to have people on the street that are going to steal your car. We do not need to have your wife or your child held up at gunpoint to take their car. We need to have mandatory sentencing. When they do that, they need to go to prison. They don't need to be in our society. Now, I've been looking at the reports that come out of the Office of the Courts over here. They have shared, Mr. Snowden has shared that with me. I see people that have been convicted of carjacking that are sentenced to 5 years and 5 years suspended. They don't spend any time in prison. That's not acceptable. That's not acceptable in my community, which is here, or in any other community in Mississippi. There are times in which we need to make people have the lesson that they need to get along with their society, in the society that we live in, without stealing somebody's automobile. You will see more legislation coming out of the Senate on this particular issue this year. So, I want to thank y'all for coming. As you can tell, usually they say election years are supposed to be kind of slow and stuff. Nope. We intend to take on everything we need to do for the legislature. There is no off year on the Senate side, and I don't think on the House side either. So hang with us. Without your leadership in Mississippi, none of us would be able to stand here and put our state really in the best financial condition it's ever been in. So thank you very much for having me. We'll look forward to working with all of you during the coming year.